Welcome to this explanation of the posture change of the student and the teacher here. We start with this guy, this learner. He has a pilot cap because he's the pilot of how he's going to learn. Typically, chooses how to learn. For example, I'm going to watch a video or to read my school book or to do some exercises or even to ask another student some explanation. I can choose. And um, I'm also aware of that. I mean, metacognition means that I think about how I think, how I learn. For example, um, I know my learning strategies. I know my favorite one, and I select that one consciously. Um, so I also have multiple areas to work on, uh, which is within a checklist. For example, here, for example, uh, I'm working on chapter 2 and chapter 8. And for the moment, I choose chapter 2. But if I stuck, I need the teacher, the teacher is not available, or I need help, or I just don't want to do chapter 2 anymore for the moment, I can I can jump to chapter 8 easily. And even within chapter 2, maybe there is some theory, some exercises. If I if I stuck with an exercise, if I'm blocked, I can move to the theory, or I can access the solutions which are available to the students. So the solutions of the exercises, which is typically hidden by the teacher in some kind of teacher's version of the school book, they are given to the students and they enable the student to have an immediate feedback. So that learner is going to know immediately, right after having tried doing an exercise, if the solution is correct or not and why. That's a normal way to learn, make mistakes and learn from them as fast as possible. So that student is more or less autonomous. I mean, um, there is a teacher in the classroom being more or less directive with that student. It depends on the student's ability to manage his own freedom to learn. So it's a pilot, he has a freedom how to learn, but he could just stay idle or not doing anything or spending time into so-called explanations between students, but not productive at all, and talking about the weather or the last TV show. So some students are very good at managing their autonomy. Um, they are very well empowered. Um, but some others really struggle with that and need more attention from the teacher, more direction from the teacher on how to learn. Um, all right. So you have also mutual aid, as you have seen. So students explaining each other. That's a way for the teacher to delegate part of his workload, and it's very useful for that student, for that learner, explaining to another learner. It's very useful to explain what you already learned. It makes it the understanding. It makes it better and deeper. Um, so it's not the only thing that the teacher is going to delegate. Just cleaning the board can be an easy thing to delegate, but at a general level, I would say that the teacher stops to being a performer who gives lessons. So the teacher is really going to let it go and is going not to be an actor who gives lessons, keeping the class captivated anymore, but going to be an architect who is creating a personalized learning environment. So he gives almost no lessons anymore, but his presence is very strong, firm, if I can say, um, for for keeping the good working climate, and at the same time very caring, very kind on relationships with the students. So that firmness is also visible for the smartphones. For example, the teacher is the gatekeeper for protecting the focus of the students. So collecting the smartphones from the students is part of his job. Um, and there are other ways to protect that focus. For example, the noise cancelling headset here for the student to not listen or to not hear the other noises within the class, for example. Um, or the fact the screen is towards the center, so the teacher can see and there is less temptation to do non-academic stuff on the computer. Assessment is also different in the sense that it's usually in a traditional class dreaded. I mean, students are not really asking to get tests. They fear tests. And now in this new environment, they ask for it. Please, madam, I think I'm ready for chapter 10 assessment. Please, can I take a test now? So students are on demand for tests in this reversed personalized learning environment. On the wall, you have classroom rules. Yeah, your class rules that are decided at the very beginning of the year by the students with the teacher. It's typically classroom rules to get a good working climate and respect within people within the class. And also you have class meeting agenda, which typically a problem between students to discuss or with the teacher, or typically a new rule to be decided. For example, what happens when anybody is using chewing gums, for example, or more generally, how can we get a better working climate because this week it's not good. Um, so these are tools used to make the learners more involved. I mean, less like consumers um, in a shop, but more like co-owners of the school, of their class at least. There is also a sense of emergency um, with, for example, this wall timer. Because when will you succeed at assessment? Is it Wednesday? Is it Tuesday? How long will it take you to explain angles? How long do you need? Do you need 10 minutes? No, 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 it's way too long. You have 3 minutes, and I give you a timer so you can check on that. If it takes more than 3 minutes for that little explanation, there is another problem. Come back to me. So that time boxing is going to prevent slowing down on chit chat on non-academic activities. And this rhythm is tracked on progress grades. I mean, you have a line per student, and for each succeed assessment, for each chapter um, which is successful for the student, you have a sticker here, for example, in that line. So each student is in its own zone of proximal development. I mean, hard but achievable. For example, he's chapter 2, but maybe he's chapter 10. It doesn't matter as long as they learn as fast as possible. So this is going to help tracking differentiation. And differentiation is on the rhythm. We are not all at the same chapter, but also on the mode. Like you are going to to learn with a video, with a notebook, with a discussion, and so on. But also that rhythm is is maintained collectively, if I can say. Everybody, everyone starts doing 15 minutes drill, even if you are not at the same chapter or at the same level um, at the same time, but everyone does drill at the same time, maybe not all the same exercises. Then we have a mini course from the teacher, a lesson for 10 minutes. And maybe it's only for half of the class because the other half has already understood or is not ready for it yet. And then 15 minutes of autonomous work like this with explanation within students, standalone work and so on. And then you have 10 minutes where a time frame when you can take assessments, for example. So this is a kind of agenda, collective rhythm proposed by the teacher. So good luck starting your class transformation journey, and I hope you understand that diagram a little bit better now.